Good morning. Yeah, exactly. Lovely to be here with you on this gorgeous summer day. I prepared my notes for today's talk primarily as an offering to the residents, and I think it will still be relevant to our guests. It's interesting. So I lived here for a very long time, and now I don't, and I come and go, and in some ways it gives me a little bit of a vantage point on what it's like to do training here and the particular challenges that people face. And to be in residential training here is a unique spiritual training situation because the residents are continually, not forced, continually agree to face themselves, to look at their minds. They continually agree to put themselves in the situation of meditation and all of the intimacy and the confrontation and challenges of that. And they do a lot of that. They do a week retreat every month, sometimes more than a week. They do anywhere from an hour to 4 hours of meditation a day. It's a lot of practice, right? And it has an effect. Things arise for sure in people. The pot is stirred. So what I did this morning is I didn't have any particular agenda of what I wanted to talk about today, and so I asked for some suggestions on what people would like to hear addressed, and hopefully there's some through line between the things I'm going to talk about, but I don't know how well organized it is. So those things were the roller coaster nature of the path. What can I be confident in? And maybe that's all I wrote about. No, there was one more. Oh, what to do about entrenched storylines and habits. So, roller coaster nature of the path, that's an interesting image, right? Up and down. Near where I live in Selwood at Oaks Park in Portland recently, a roller coaster a machine, whatever it's called, got stuck, and people were hanging upside down for like a very long time. Zen is not like that, I hope. Well, my first thought in response to the roller coaster nature of the path, this person was using this image, is I thought, well, the path is straight, but we're wavy. We're the wavy ones. But that's a kind of contradiction because you are the path. Your life is the path. The intimate being of the life that you are, the life that is you, is the path. So yeah, the path is a roller coaster if you're a roller coaster. But also the path is straight. It's simple. It's so straightforward that the wavy in us has a hard time with the simplicity of it. And much of what is stirred up or distressing or challenging is the wavy in us meeting the simplicity of the path, the straightforwardness of the instructions, and the not straightforwardness of what we are. There's a concept in Dharma of something called an upheaval. And upheaval means that you are practicing well. You're practicing with integrity and consistency. You're doing the technique right, whatever that means. And then stuff comes up. You have a wave of doubt, or you have anguish come over you, or a deep spell of confusion, or you realize, oh, I didn't know I could be this angry. You're confronted with aspects of your character you might not have known were there. Or might not have known were there in the magnitude that you're now seeing. And this is considered a good sign. This is, from this point of view, a sign of progress, that this happens. Now that is sometimes a little bit hard to square with because we hope, or we might believe, that doing it right means a continual ascension to heaven. Right? Being good means good stuff happens. This kind of ingrained Judeo-Christian thinking. But it's not like that. Doing it right means we thaw. It means that a greater span of awareness is permeating our bodies and our minds. Those are not separate things. And so then more stuff opens up. We come up against fixed views that we have, that outside of the context of practice, we could always kind of dance around. We could manicure our lives to avoid facing things in ourselves. We can arrange our relationships, the things we do or don't do. We could even pick a career that had us avoid an aspect of ourselves we didn't want to face and go with something that's strong or comfortable or whatever it might be. But when we do spiritual practice like this, you can't do that. We meet with those views, but the meeting is actually a positive thing. We want that meeting to happen. We want the upheavals to happen. We desire for ourselves to be revealed to ourselves in Zen practice. It's actually more desirable for you to have these upheavals than for you to sit in utter calmness all the time. But they don't feel good. And actually, sometimes on the inside, they feel terrible. And the part of us that tends towards doubt grabs a hold of that and takes it as evidence that we're not doing it right or something is off in the situation, etc. So another thing about the roller coaster nature of the path, maybe it's roller coaster because we react and retract rather than feel. Right? The roller coasterness is something about our relationship with what's happening not being steady. And if you have anxiety arise and you react to it, you make a wave in the system. If you relax into the experience, does that sound like a contradiction? You can relax into anxiety. You relax into the anxiety, you are one with the wave. And so it's not so wavy. But we tend to react or retract. Right? We want to dodge what we're experiencing. And we actually make a devil out of that thing that we're feeling, whatever it is. So one thing I like about the roller coaster nature of the path, I haven't been on a roller coaster for a long time because once I got out of my teenage years, I became very timid, and then I lived in a monastery, and so I don't intentionally do scary things. I'm one of those people. But I've done it before. I remember you didn't quite know when you were coming up on a big dip. You knew that there were the big dips and all the scary loops before you got on, but when you're on the roller coaster, you kind of forget where they're at because you're just there. Somehow that was related to the Dharma, I don't remember. So we don't know what's going to happen, and we don't know what's going to unfold, and that is part of the joy of it. Right? It's actually not monotonous. I think some people conceive of monastic life as the most monotonous thing. It's monastic, so therefore it's monotonous, it's really boring. But spiritual life is not like that. It's quite vibrant, and we have this principle that's at the core of our Zen practice, which is we don't know what we don't know. And that's immutable. You can never know what you don't know. And we keep stepping into that truth, day after day, retreat after retreat, and that's vibrant. So it is kind of fun, like a roller coaster. I think this is fun. Sometimes, often, pretty much. I'm looking around to read faces of residents, and the reaction to this is fun. Okay. So then, I think it is related. Someone said, well, actually, this was funny. One resident said for another person, I'm thinking of so-and-so, and can you talk about what they can be confident in? I don't think either of them are in the room right now. So what can I be confident in? So world and personal circumstance is always shifting. It's a message delivered by Buddhism very regularly. It's a message delivered by the media very regularly. The world and personal circumstance is always shifting. There's stability in one place and instability in another. And then that place that seems unstable seems a little bit more stable, but then there's instability in some other dimension. If it's not home, it's work. If it's not your body, it's your mind. If it's not this relationship, it's that one. It's just a given, right? And how can we then be confident in anything? What would the source of confidence be if this is true? That's a good question. So, on one level, there is apparently some confusion in the air at the monastery about how to practice, because every month a different person gets up here and says, here's how you should practice. And they say it with all kinds of conviction, and people go, wait a sec. So-and-so, Lama, Roshi, whatever, didn't say that. They said something different. And so it can create some confusion. So Jogen is suggesting, broadly making the suggestion, don't change your practice. Just do what you've been doing. As far as what I can be confident in, and confidence in general, you can be confident that if you calm your mind, your life will be easier. One of the teachings being presented at the monastery is that a calm mind is not the ultimate goal of Dharma. It's not inherently liberating. That may be true, but it will liberate a lot of extra suffering. There are so many situations in life that we meet them and all kinds of noise arises in our minds and bodies. And that noise in our minds and bodies is not built into those situations. You know? So many times we say, so-and-so made me XYZ, and oftentimes it's just not true. It's simply not true. They may have been a factor in that arising, but our minds contain that response, right? So you can be confident that if you work at calming your mind, and think of that as more a vibe rather than an arrival. You have less noise in your mind, you have more space. You will be more confident because there's less noise that you bring forward to meet the things in life that you have to meet, right? You have to go to the dentist, you're fully empowered, as Jogen Roshi often likes to say, you can think the most terrible, torturous thoughts about going to the dentist. But this practice also empowers you not to think those thoughts as much. You'll be calmer. You're flying out of the country. You can have all kinds of thoughts about an airplane. This practice empowers you not to have so many of those thoughts, or have less of them. So, in other words, our mind is often adding insult to injury. Often. Okay. I don't care if calming the mind is not ultimate enlightenment practice. It really feels good. It really reduces my ordinary unhappiness. So on another level, there's a problem in looking for something to be confident in. In other words, What if looking for something, someone, someplace, some state of feeling or being that is unchanging is the cause of our shakiness? We don't feel confident because we are trying to pin something down. We're trying to pin down a state of okayness, and you can't. But if we stopped trying to pin something down, if we stopped trying to have an unchanging circumstance internally or externally, then we're just responding to the flow of things. Another way to say it is if we're not fixated, if we're open, if we're with experience, we're responsive. We have experiences. And those are experiences. They're not more and not less than being experiences. And we can be confident in that. In a way, the core problem that individuals have is that they want to avoid such and such an experience. That there's something in our minds, there's some boogie person in our minds, there's some flash of something that we don't want to have to feel or experience. And then our way of being becomes a way of guarding against, avoiding, and trying to prevent some experience that our mind has presented as awful. There's something we don't want to feel. We don't want to feel an absence. We don't want to feel a presence. Well, what would happen, or you could try this on as a practice, try activating the attitude that I'm willing to feel and experience whatever is mine to feel and experience. You're already going to experience it. This is the crazy thing about human minds. We're already going to experience, most of us will experience basically all of it. We'll definitely die, we'll definitely get sick, we'll definitely lose people we love. We'll definitely have things that we want go and things that we don't want come. It'll definitely happen. So what if we prime ourselves to orient in this way? I'm willing to feel and experience whatever is mine to feel and experience. And activate that openness and observe the result. People elevate a practice like open awareness. It sounds, I don't know what it sounds. I think it sounds simple. I think for some people it sounds sexy, open awareness. But part of what that means is you're willing to experience without reacting or retracting. The undivided flow of life, you're not going to say no to part of it and yes to another part of it. If I can live that attitude, I don't really have to be that afraid of things. Or I don't have to be afraid of my fear even. And we can practice that. We can orient in that way. You think, mind is spinning and the stomach is churning because you're going somewhere and some person's going to be there. And you investigate, what is it about that? Oh, I don't want to feel awkward. What's wrong with feeling awkward? I don't want to experience their criticism. What if you were just there with the vulnerability of being judged? But if we don't look into the thing that we're avoiding, that we kind of make the distant enemy, then we just keep going through those motions. I'm willing to be awkward. I'm willing to feel stung. Of course, within reason, I'm talking here. What we expose ourselves to. I don't know if this is making sense a little bit. Okay. So then, probably related, somebody said, what to do about entrenched storylines and habits? And of course, that's like the billion-dollar question. Yeah. Because we practice with integrity and we see that we have them. We see that we are often animated by entrenched beliefs, storylines. We think and believe something long enough, it kind of gathers body as a part of us, so to speak. Right? And it doesn't easily just drop away. But storylines and habits are not entrenched unless you go with them. They're not entrenched unless you believe them. Right? At this moment, nobody could produce any evidence that they have fixed beliefs, storylines, etc. You couldn't prove it to me. Could you? You could say, I have this storyline about myself, XYZ, and okay, you're telling it now, that's true. So, much of the freedom of our practice is just living on the spot. Just live on the spot. Just be the meeting, be the encounter that you are right now with body, mind, and environment. Just be that. And there isn't a story there, and there isn't a belief. And so on one hand, we aspire as much as possible to live on the spot. And this is similar to the benefit of a calm mind. You're so engaged in what's happening that you're not pulled into the karmic morass. I think we sometimes think that we need to resolve it all, we need to purify it all, we need to no longer have problematic aspects of our personality. But that's not really the aim of Zen practice. That might be a noble and interesting therapeutic project. But from a Zen point of view, we're karmic conditioned beings, that's not going to be otherwise. But how often do we need to engage it? How embroiled are we with it? We have some power around that. Primary thing is to live on the spot. And you do that through your body. You do that through feeling your hands in the water, through hearing the sounds of the birds. You do that through feeling your abdomen expand and contract. We don't try to undo our beliefs with other beliefs. It's almost a trope by now, but I love what Einstein said. Apparently Einstein said, a problem created at one level of mind is not resolved with that same level. So for many people, I think the flavor of practice is something like, if you train in this way, it's like an alternation between living on the spot and you feel freedom. You feel you're untethered from all the stories that come with your identity, and then you get drawn back into it. And you try to work with that and meet that with compassion, and then you're back to on the spot. That alternation could persist for a good while. Also, it's good in practice when we have sufficient wakefulness. That means that whatever consciousness is, it's unhooked from thought enough that you are now able to observe. Observe is not quite the right word. It's a little bit too observy. It's too, it implies too much distance. You are able to know the arising of your mind. Right? Mind arises in you rather than you being shrouded by mind. When there's that sufficient wakefulness, which is generally only developed through some kind of training like Zen, then you can watch those stories arise in real time. If wakefulness is really vibrant, you can just melt it. It's just like dust motes in a sunbeam. A little less vibrant, at least you recognize, oh, this is my story. This is my I'm a failure story. There you are. Okay. And wakefulness, because it's unhooked, it sees this is a story. You still might feel some of its effects, but you've got the degree of freedom, right? That it's a visitor. Not a visitor you want to invite to stay for too long, but it is a visitor. One more thing about entrenched storylines and habits and so forth. It may be worth contemplating, is my life such that I have a place of joyful service and contribution? Do I have the power to bring that about? Because one of the best ways to get over ourselves is just to get over ourselves and just be really engaged in being of benefit in some way that actually brings us to life, not from some sort of trying to please everyone and make them happy, but kind of throw ourselves into a situation where a lot is demanded of us. But that's joyful to give what we have to give, and therefore there's less time or necessity to make an object of ourselves. That's a lot of what the delusion of self is we're kind of sitting around making an object of who we are, imagining that the picture we have of ourselves is somehow the real thing, and we either like that picture or we don't like it. In a way, just to be so positively busy that there's less room for that. Just create a field of love's expression. Is a flowery way I like to say it. Everybody needs a field for love's expression. That could be making model airplanes. Who am I to say? That could be babysitting. That could be pulling weeds. There's no fixed recipe for that. Okay. Then finally, I wanted to say something about doubt. Methods, teachers, and teachings, no matter how great, cannot resolve your doubt. Methods, teachers, and teachings, no matter on what mountain, what title, how, whatever, they cannot resolve your doubt. You can resolve your doubt. If doubt is resolved, you resolve it. The teacher might help. Hopefully they help. If it's resolved, you resolve it. It's not in the method. The method is not like, something you bought at the store that's slightly rancid. And it's sort of like the bad stuff's mixed in with the nourishing stuff. The doubt is in us. The doubt is something that is in our minds. So either we resolve our doubt or we don't. But we can. But the capital R right method, capital R right teacher is not going to do it. And I at least partially say this from my own experience because I've had the fortune of studying with extraordinary teachers, some of them in this room, some of them not. They didn't resolve my doubt. If I've had a lessening of doubt, it's because of the work I've done at looking at that doubt. Now, this word means different things to different people. When we say resolving doubt, we don't mean that you're supposed to suspend your intelligence, your discernment, your intuition. We're really talking about what to do about the fundamental mistrust of life. a fundamental sense that somehow what's unfolding is an error. That's quite a rift in one's being. Doubt is often about experience, but not with experience. Doubt is a reflection on an external, but when you are intimate breath, body, sound, when you are flavor on the tongue, when you are ear hearing sound, you're with experience, so there's not doubt. So then what's the antidote? What do you think? Those are the points I wanted to make this morning, so I'm going to open the floor, see if anybody has any angles I neglected to mention, or... Do you mind talking into the microphone? Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
You spoke of... Wow. All right. You spoke of being open to the experiences, even the ones you maybe don't want to experience, but it's hard to discern between being open and exposing yourself to kind of being battered around spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how do you draw the line? Where is the line? Is there a line?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is, a nuanced question. Of course, without really knowing you, I can only give a limited answer in what you're addressing. But it's important that we remember that that compassion and respect for all beings includes this one. Love for all beings includes this one. And then where's the line between that and self-cherishing, trying to keep myself always comfortable, looking good, happy, on top of things, is a personal and intimate examination. But whether we need to go this way a little bit or that way a little bit, respect for oneself and love for oneself is part of something to keep in the mix. If we don't have the capacity to be with intense experience, it's not helpful to try to take it into practice. For example, there are the teacher of Hakuin Zenji, one of the great Zen masters who's an influence in our lineage. He used to sit outside where there was wolves, and if he was utterly still, they would come up and sniff him, but they wouldn't attack him. But he wanted to see how much he could stay in faith. He wanted to refine his faith. I probably shouldn't do such a thing. But I might have my own version of that that's kind of edging its way into awareness, kind of knocking and saying, this is ready for you to try to be open to and incorporate. I don't know if that was even relevant to your question, but... Joseph, hi. I haven't seen you in years.
Still there. Yes, hi. When you told the story of Hakun and the wolf, reminded me if you were looking for an experience along that line, but less dangerous, a mosquito.
That's right.
And I guess if you ask what can resolve doubt experience?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. And that I think that answer hits different levels because most doubt is about distance from experience. But there are also hallmark experiences in our Dharma path that significantly shift our confidence in what we're doing. And if they happen, if they arise, it's because we're with direct experience in an intimate way. So, you're right.
One way for me that I am wavy, the path is straight, is that I'll have like 5 or 6 different opinions about the same thing at the same time. How do you deal with that kind of swarm of opinion and thought?
5 or 6 at the same time?
Well, example, I'm sitting zazen, I'm bored, my feet tingle. I know this is good for me. I know I'll feel better later. Gosh, I don't feel good now, my back hurts. And it's all of that at the same time. So I have like positive and negative feelings about sitting zazen.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that goes for just about everything about the way. And so that causes the roller coaster in me is so many different views and opinions about what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you're thinking them.
Yes.
That's the point.
And I can't help it.
No, that's not true.
Really?
That's partially true.
That's
It seems true that you can't help it.
That's my question.
Yeah.
How do you help it?
You experience. The tingling of your feet was the one thing you mentioned that wasn't a thought about experience. The tingling of your feet, on one level, is a fact. But that it's not going well is an interpretation. Even that you're bored is an interpretation. What do you mean by that? If the mind says I'm bored, but what is the experience? Well, if it's not here right now, I don't want you to have to make up some thing about what boredom is, but my point is you might have more power than you believe about coming into just the life that your body is right now. And we lose that after a moment and we're back in our minds, but the path is clear. So just keep coming back to that direct. It's, in a sense, we're choosing over and over. We're making the choice to be immersed in the basic texture of our life rather than the interpretation. And you're free to choose that, at least for one moment, but that's the nitty-gritty of it. Okay. Any of the teachers want to add anything? Mira? Oh, okay.
Just to share that this helped me clarify something, and Joseph's comment too, that
I've been struggling with the ingrained patterns and stories, and wrestling with, oh, I got these ones from my mom, and I got these ones from culture and all that, and that most of them are fear-based, that I need to prevent this thing from happening, because if that happened, that would be bad, and I don't want to be that kind of a person or find myself in that situation or whatever. But then because I've never let myself experience those things, like I'm very good at preventing those things from happening. But then I have this continuous doubt about whether those fears are real, and what would happen if I let it happen. And hearing this thought of experience is what contradicts doubt, that not letting myself feel those feelings or experience those things means that I don't know that it's
Right.
okay.
Right.
And that it's kind of become this self-fulfilling prophecy in that way. So
Yeah, nicely said. It prevents you to resolve the doubt, actually.
right.
Yeah.
It just feeds itself. So thank you.
Thank you.
Sometimes the weight of the causes and conditions of my past decisions lends a foundation or a heaviness to the stories and the entrenched storylines, like whether I should or shouldn't have done something. I'm experiencing the damage and pain from it today, so it's lending a credibility to it. How do I work with that?
The unpleasant thing you're experiencing lends the credibility to the story that you messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is a time in life for a kind of at-one-ment with what we've done. And that's not a mistake when that's happening. In fact, it informs us. It can inform us in a useful way. So for me, that would be a matter of degree, about how much the consequences that I now live in, when they remind me of choices I made, is that going to the extreme that I'm dwelling in them? Or is it just really actually teaching me, right, encouraging me to make different choices now? If it's a matter of not being able to forgive myself for having been human, that's another matter. I once had a bowing practice in the founder's room here, where first I was doing bows and I was saying, I'm sorry. And I was imagining people that I had caused harm to. And then later I was, with each bow, I was saying, I forgive you. Because that's kind of a different issue about whether the lesson is well communicated and now it's become fodder for self-recrimination. Right? There's an identity forming out of, I'm a bad person because I did X, Y, Z. That's not helpful. And the way through is experience.
Thank you.
Yeah.
about an entrenched belief that there are mistakes in the world, it seems like I can have some degree of experience of love and beauty in the world, and compassion arising from everything, and it feels like it's really calling me to respond with love and compassion and wisdom, and work towards the liberation of suffering for all beings, in whatever way that means. But along with those experiences is often a deep fear that I can do that wrong, that I can cause more suffering inadvertently, or let this world down, or I don't know exactly. There is no me to do it, but there's doing still. There's no doer, but there's still the action of doing. So there can be doing it wrong. I can't seem to see around that.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, I would love to hear from the other teachers, but what's coming up for me is maybe that's why you're in training. Maybe you're in training so that you can I say purify the heart? It's a little dicey to use that terminology, but you're here to so firmly root in skillful seeing and acting and a tender heart that you'll greatly significantly reduce the likelihood that you will cause harm when you're of service. And here you are, you're doing the work to bring that about. Yeah. Maybe you've witnessed people who have power who've misused it, even though they had good intentions, because they didn't know themselves well enough. So here you are.
I think it just, when my heart does become tender, I have those experiences, and I experience fear, and then I say, you know what, maybe being a tender-hearted person is not for me. This is too hard.
Mm-hmm.
But I know it feels like I shouldn't do that.
Mm-hmm. Don't be a tender-hearted person, be a person that contains tenderness.